Okay, great. So first, please introduce yourself. Please tell us who you are and a little bit about the project.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having us on the show. Thanks for letting us come and speak with your amazing community. XP Network has been one of our great partners for a while now. And we only recently kind of capitalized on that partnership, and we made the bridge to Polygon. So yeah, I really want to thank you guys for setting this up and for being such great tech partners. So thank you for that. My name is Gabriel. I am the creator of Nunu Spirits. Yeah, I'm an expat living in Slovakia. I have been for about 12, 13 years now. And yeah, this is where our studio is based. We started a game studio about 4 years ago. I've been working in the games industry for about 12 years as well. And yeah, that's a bit about me. I don't know how deep you want to go, but yeah, I guess I love nature, and I guess that's pretty obvious based on the project. So I think we can talk a bit more about the project.
Right, exactly. The next question is, how did you come up with this idea to even start the project? And were you doing everything all on your own, or there is a team behind it?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so the project actually, Nunu Spirits, the IP, is actually quite a bit older than the current iteration of the project. It was actually our flagship game for the game studio when we founded 4 years ago. We were looking at that time. We were looking at a bunch of different options, and we were playing around with different prototypes and kind of figuring out who we were as developers back then. And we came up with these really cute forest creatures. They're kind of inspired by the kokodame and the nature spirits from various cultures and legends around the world. And the whole kind of focus of the game was to save the Nunu, to save the forest. And I mean, that's kind of where it all began. We ended up chasing the wrong kind of game. We were chasing a Lemmings-like game. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember Lemmings. I'm kind of a dinosaur when it comes to the game space and the crypto space, but you know, I'm a fan of the old classics and stuff like that. Anyway, it didn't work out, so we put the game on hold. And then when we started working on a project called Dino X in early 2021, I immediately made the connection to blockchain and the Nunu Spirits game, and that we could tie the tree planting event directly to our NFTs. And that's when it got really exciting for me. I was like, we can actually have players actively and directly participating in reforestation. You know, it doesn't have to be some surrogate or revenue based. We'll spend 10% of our revenue on reforestation or blah 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 or any of that stuff. It could actually be tied into the economy of the game, and things got really exciting at that point. And so we kicked off the project anew in the end of 2021, and that brings us to today, where Nunu Spirits is now it's realized in terms of a soft launch. It's soft launch on iOS and Android, so you can go to the iOS Apple Store, or you can go to the Google Play Store, and you can download the game and play the first three mini games that we have built. We have many more mini games coming. We have new experiences, new modes, new items coming to the shop constantly. So it's in a very early state, but we're really pretty happy about that. So that's Nunu Spirits in a nutshell. Yeah. I always say that, and as like a knee-jerk reaction, but then it's kind of, oh, that was a pun. And so Nunu Spirits, it's all about playing some games, having some fun, tying your NFT collection to real trees planted in the real world, and kind of helping to offset the carbon cost for playing games and interacting with people online.
Right. So as far as I can see, your NFTs can be in the form of a seedling, a spirit, and an elder tree.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. The seedlings are like the very earliest kind of life cycle state for our characters. And it's essentially an ERC 1155 token. It's a fragmented NFT. And we have a merge tool in our Web3 portal, which will be online, not in too distant future. We're thinking probably sometime in June, we'll have the merge tool up and running. It's actually up and running. It's just not activated yet. We're waiting for some more seedlings to be distributed to people in our networks. But yeah, the idea is the seedling then merges to become a Nunu Spirit, and then the Nunu Spirit is what you use to play inside of the games. And then that Nunu Spirit, once it becomes experienced enough, it becomes an elder and can help you earn by creating new seedlings for subsequent generations. And it also helps you participate in governance over what's happening inside of the ecosystem and all kinds of other things. So yeah.
Do I understand it correctly that the seedling is an SFT or semi-fungible
Yes.
token?
Yep. It's a
And the
1155.
trees are
Yep.
NFTs.
Correct. Yep. As soon as you merge 3 seedlings, you actually draw from the Genesis collection, which is already minted, and those seedlings kind of are basically fragmented NFTs. They're partial NFTs. It's a semi-fungible token in that there's a common seedling, or a rare seedling, and an uncommon seedling, and the rarer those seedlings are, the better chance you'll get a higher rarity from the draw when you merge.
Great. And how can one get a seedling? Is it possible to mint one?
Yeah, actually, you can grab them on our portal. We have a Web3 portal. It's portal.nunuspirits.io. You can hop on there. They're only available for NNT, which is our native token, which we can get into a little bit if anybody really wants to dive into our tokenomics structure. But I think it's a little bit more technical, and we can get to that later if you want in the technical section you guys usually do. But essentially, yeah, that's the easiest way. Is you can just hop on. You can buy seedlings for NNT. There's a limited supply, so it's first come, first serve. And the other way to get them is to participate in community events. We have lots of community events, and we give away seedlings to our avid community fans pretty regularly, I would say. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of those.
Great. I also see that the first mini games are called Nunu's Adventure, Floor is Toxic, and Vine Runner.
Yep.
Could you tell us more about each game?
Sure.
What is the flow? And is there a way to get more seedlings or more NFTs while playing the game?
So inside of the game, it's very early stages yet. There will be chances to earn more seedlings and types and that stuff after the merge event. But right now, inside of the game, what you're looking at is essentially a soft launch, which a lot of people you could consider maybe a demo or a beta or early gameplay. The 3 games that we have are all in the single player mode. We're looking to expand to multiplayer in the near future. We can talk about that a little bit later. But the games that we have, Nunu's Adventure is kind of like the offline dino game. If you ever logged on to Google and your internet connection has been down, they have an offline dinosaur game, and it just scrolls along, and you have to jump and avoid obstacles. We've added a few things to that and enhanced it with some sweet graphics, and it's quite cute. But it's very simple. It's kind of meditative. It can be a little bit challenging. It's hard to get over like 1,000 points, I think, but some people have managed to clock scores of like 42,000, and it's like, oh my, how did you do that? And you're like, well, I just kind of get in a meditative state, and I played for about 2.5 hours. And I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible. Like, I can't get that far. So that's the first game. And that was actually available during our alpha release back earlier in 2022. Then we added Floor is Toxic, which is more of a traditional kind of platformer game, somewhat similar to what you might find in like Mario or Mario 3D World. Where you're running and you're trying to escape up this tree as the toxic cloud is rising up beneath you. If you get to the top and you reach the rain shrine, you can summon the rains and you can wash away the toxicity, and your Nunu is safe. So all of our games kind of have an ecological theme. The News Adventure has seasons, which we update, depending on, what season we're in. And then the third game is called Vine Runner, and it's a Nunu running on a vine. So it's a lot like an endless runner where you have like 3 different lanes. But in this one, we actually have 6 lanes, and those 6 lanes go around the vine, so you can go upside down and right side up on the vine. So it feels very roller coastery. It's quite dynamic and fun. Games we're looking at in the future, we have like a Nunu golf / capture the flag game in the works. We have all sorts of other things. And these new games are a little bit more sandboxy, and these are kind of more equipped for multiplayer experiences. So having multiple characters in the same game playing. But all of our games we still want to kind of focus more on cooperative gameplay rather than competitive gameplay. And so, the competitions will happen within the scoring and stuff like that, rather than inside the games necessarily. So I think Overcooked or Mario Party, where you're working together towards a common goal inside of the game. And how well you do in the teamwork side of things, you could be an ally or you could be an enemy, depending on how the game is going for you and how good your companions are.
Well, great that you have so many modes. And I started thinking maybe one day when we drive somewhere, a farm, my son doesn't like staring at the window. Maybe I'll turn on one of your games.
I have a really good friend, and he called me up. He's like, "Dude, you broke my kids. They don't ask for the Nintendo Switch anymore. They ask for Nunu." I was laughing.
Yeah, my son is also addicted to games, so okay, I will be careful with that. Okay, so will I have to get a seedling to start playing?
No, the game is completely free to play, and the reason for that is based on our hybrid model. And so the game that you download is actually, it doesn't have any crypto inside of it necessarily. So you come into the game and it operates and it plays like a traditional free-to-play game. The additional there is that if you have an NFT, you can actually use that NFT inside of the games. The NFT is basically a custom one-of-a-kind skin, one of one, which you hear a lot in NFT. All of our Nunus, every single one is a one of one. They're all completely unique. And that's thanks to our character generation engine. We have an algorithm that basically uses our artists' amazing models and kind of components and recombines them into kind of fantastical ways. And then we go through and we curate that, and we basically teach our algorithm, which Nunus we like, which Nunus we don't like, and it will never generate something again. If we put it in the burn list, it will never create it again. If we put it in the mint list, it will never generate that again. So all of our Nunus are one of ones, and so they're unique digital collectibles that can be kind of used, shown off, and played inside of the games. But other than that, the two worlds are kept a little bit separate, and they kind of watch each other. So there's a bridge between the two. Do
you guys involve AI in generation of your Nunu NFTs, or is it just an algorithm?
Yeah, I would say it's very rudimentary AI in the fact that it's basically learning based off of our developers' inputs. It's generating based on a list of kind of whitelisted and blacklisted combinations. But it's very it's nothing like ChatGPT or anything like that. But I mean, essentially, it's the same thing. It's just on a much smaller scale. So we'll see about how we can kind of enhance or tune that in the future. But all of our assets are handmade. We make our assets from scratch. We have concept artists that does sketches. We have a modeler that puts them in both high poly and low poly. And then we have an animator that rigs them and gets them ready and animates them for all the fun that you see inside of our network.
Great. I see that you have 2 modes Either it has to be phone that supports Google Play, or it should be an iPhone
Yeah,
or an iPad maybe from Apple
iOS
Play.
or Android
Uh,
are both available in those app stores. So yeah,
Right.
if you have iOS or Android, you're good to go.
What about computer? Like, can I play
Yeah,
your game from a
um,
laptop?
the best way to do that would be via BlueStacks or some other emulator. Right now, we aren't precluding the inclusion of PC or even other game consoles in the future. We just want to focus on iOS and Android for the time being, as that's where the largest market in the free to play side of things is. So if we can basically, build those up, we can, get large number of users in there. Obviously, with a large number of users comes revenues, and then we can use those revenues to port the game out to different platforms. So we do have plans on looking at other platforms in the future, but for right now, we're focusing on iOS and Android. But yeah, like I said, if you have a PC, all you have to do is pop in an emulator, and you can run it on BlueStacks. It's no problem. It's quite easy.
Great. Great. Well, I completely agree with you that most users now
Yeah.
do everything from their
Yep.
mobile, and they don't love sitting against a computer. But I'm the other type of man.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time in front of a computer, so that's why I'm asking.
Well,
Okay. I
I
also
kind of
see.
feel you on that one. I do. I came from the old console days where you had a TV and a console and a controller, and I'm very tactily driven in terms. And so making the move from a tactile controller to an on-screen controller was quite challenging. And so I definitely understand that. And so we are looking in the future to add controller support and stuff like that. And actually, based on what I've seen so far, if you were to run basically a controller with your iOS or Android device that would control anything else with like on-screen input or stuff like that, it would also still function. But we haven't tested that. We haven't dug into it super deeply. But essentially, we listen to what our community is asking for. So if that's something that's really important for you, if you like our game, but you want to play on PC, come into our community and start talking about it. See if you can get other people kind of excited about it. And we're always in our communities listening. It's something that's super essential for quality game development. Is developing a strong community and listening to that community when they're asking for things. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Community is everything in our lives, and it's great that you listen to their needs.
yep,
And
definitely.
amazing. Yeah, another thing I noticed about you is that you are fond of ecology. So,
Yeah,
can you tell us more about how your NFTs are ecological, and like what about real life trees?
sure.
How are they connected with your NFTs?
Sure. So like I was one of those kids that like adopted the polar bear or whatever that was on Saturday morning cartoons, and or maybe I think it was an ocelot or something. It was something in the jungle, um, but yeah, I I'm an avid outdoorsman, so I enjoy being outside, and it always really kind of bothered me when I saw trash outside or thrown away in, streams and rivers and oceans and stuff like that. And I'm one of those guys who always has a little baggie and picks up trash on the beach and, that kind of stuff. And so when we were building the Nunu Spirits game 4 years ago, and it was just a free to play game, we didn't have the NFTs in there. We didn't have any ecological clear direction at that point. We're like, yeah, how do we make this possible? And so when we decided to connect the tree planting event to our NFTs, so they're like, okay, so we need to have some data. And so we need to make sure that our tree partners are auditable, that our tree partners are legit. So we started looking for tree partners that were registered, that had, their trees going onto databases that were, used internationally or at least recognized inside of their own governments, so that the trees couldn't be double counted. They couldn't be a lot of kind of shady things happen in altruism, and I think blockchain solves a lot of those things. And so yeah, we wanted to be clear and transparent that if we had an NFT, that NFT was responsible for planting a tree, like a real tree, an actual tree, not a tree that somebody else planted and is also claiming credit for, and those types of things. So our tree partners provide, clear data on the trees, where they're planted, how many trees are planted, what types of trees are planted. Most of our partners plant non-monocultures. There are a few partners that are focusing on kind of high productivity, high carbon sequestration trees like mangroves. And those are planted in more of a monoculture kind of scenario. But, because basically nothing else grows where mangroves grow. So you can't plant, a multiculture forest in a mangrove field, essentially. But these are very strong in terms of carbon sequestration. You can check out our friends at TreeGens and the Virtus Sapling Initiative, also known as Grow Token. There's all kinds of really cool projects that we're working with. We have a partner in Australia called Airseed, and they use large drones. They have these drones that are basically have almost a 2-meter wingspan, and they load them up with self-planting, self-fertilizing, and watering seed pods, and they fly them out into the bush in Australia after bushfires, into regions where it's impossible to get trucks, it's impossible to get human beings in to help reforest and replant these areas. And so some of these areas, because of the increase in the number of wildfires, some of these areas are suffering quite significantly in terms of soil loss, in terms of loss of habitat for fauna that's in those areas. And so we have all kinds of really kind of cool partners that are involved. Green Steps is another cool partner. They're operating mostly in South America. Yeah, but there's all kinds of really cool things that we can do. And essentially, we basically take tree data from our tree partners, and we record that tree data, and then we link that to our NFTs in our database. So anybody who has an NFT and gets to the elder state can basically look up which tree they have, where it's planted, and all that good stuff. So it becomes really kind of fun. And then, of course, when they trade that NFT, that tree planted event goes with them, So, somebody can basically build up large forests by acquiring trees from other people.
Great. So every time somebody buys an NFT from your collection, they're paying for growing a new tree.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Amazing.
And not only that, we also have trees that are non-NFT trees. Inside the ecosystem right now in the game, you can simply buy a tree or a tree pack. And those trees are just the proceeds from those go to help support further development and planting of trees in our community forest. And the community forest is kind of like a forest that's owned by the Nunu Spirits ecosystem, and it's used for all kinds of other things, backing up trees. Once you've planted a tree, there's really no guarantee that you can make that says that tree is going to last, for X number of years or for whatever, or be there forever, like the NFT. And so we intend to kind of back up and support our forests, even though our partners are already doing that as well. Most of our partners have replantation efforts when they basically go back in, they record the area that they planted. They have AI algorithms now that are counting trees and using kind of growth algorithms to identify trees as they grow and progress, or if they've been eaten by a goat, for example. These things happen, and so it's important to have redundancies and backups when you're planting trees. But yeah, so you're planting at least one tree, and probably many, many more.
Great. So you're one of the rare NFT projects where you have a connection of your NFTs to the real life, and not just some random thing, but you're actually doing a very good thing for the entire planet. You're sponsoring planting the trees that produce oxygen for all of us.
I think that the tie for NFTs to the real world is important, especially in these early days, where we don't have, fully immersive metaverses out yet. I mean, these things are coming, and the utility of NFTs or digital collectibles will increase significantly. But right now, I think it's important to have some sort of tether to something real or tangible in the real world. We know how much it costs to plant a tree. We know what's the worth of a tree. You know, so it makes sense to have an NFT that has a tie to something tangible.
Right. I also see that your NFTs have different rarity points.
Mm-hmm.
They range from mythic to epic, rare, and common. Does it mean like if I have a, let's say, mythic NFT, I am paying for, I'm getting to grow several trees or like big trees, or what's the difference?
Essentially. So there's a number of things that are kind of tied up into the value of the rarer NFTs. One, the mythics, there will only ever be 50 mythics minted by us directly as a foundation. So these are kind of like the super OG uber rares. Our rarest one, our first one actually sold for 395 AVAX, I believe. And so those will allow you to generate new seedlings when we go to new seasons. So we have, this is season 0 or the Genesis collection, but we'll have a second season, we'll have a third season, and so on. And during each of those seasons, the NFTs that came before in this generation will be able to kind of propagate and create new seedlings, and they will kind of carry over some of the traits that they brought with them. Or that they have in their stat block. So the NFTs create new NFTs for you in the future for future seasons. So depending on the rarity, also the kind of cost for minting new seedlings and stuff like that is of course much lower if you have a much rarer NFT. Even to the mythics where you actually don't you don't have any mint costs for subsequent seedlings that come off of those NFTs. So you have advantages in that regard. And then also as we get further along with new game modes like the new sandbox modes, we'll have more stat-driven gameplay. And so if you can kind of imagine Mario Brothers where you have different jump curves. So Mario is kind of a standard average stat block. And so he runs at an average speed. He jumps at an average height. He jumps an average distance. He stops and accelerates at an average rate. But whereas Toad, he accelerates really fast. He's hard to turn around. He jumps much further, but he doesn't jump as high. So he has more dynamic stats. So those dynamic stats are basically what you get out of the more rare NFTs. The more common your NFT, kind of the more baseline your stat blocks will be.
I also wanted to pay attention to all the listeners that we recently added a link to the case study of Nunu Spirits on our website, where we give more information about the project, where we describe what was bridged already. And if you don't have much time to read, I can tell you in brief that Nunu Spirits have 3,000 NFTs on Avax, and they are a very successful project there. They managed to sell NFTs for 2,203 Avax till now, which is more than $32,000, almost $33,000 in today's rates. And they bridged about 35 NFTs to Polygon, and this happened like very recently, maybe a week or two ago, and they managed to already sell NFTs to at least 15 different owners, and it is worth about $3,600. I mean, this is what's been sold. So the project is very successful on both the original and destination chains, and I'm sure that if we bridge the project to more chains, it will be successful there as well. So what is the secret of your success? Do you bring your community with you, and do they support you everywhere? Or do you have a cool marketing team who know how to attract new users on the new chain? How does it work?
I think a lot of it is our community, that kind of comes with us. In terms of the marketing team, of course, we have an awesome marketing team, and we love what they do. Everything is kind of really challenging at the moment in terms of marketing. Everybody's kind of like really attracted by the shiny new things. Move to earn, and then it was metaverse, and then it was meme coins now, and it's a very dynamic, it's a very challenging industry to market inside of. But we try to remain true to who we are, to what we want to do with our project, and we seem to have a pretty solid, I would say, pretty solid support system of people that are interested in the Nunu Spirits project. And we're hoping that they'll help us, expand as well. So yeah, we are looking at possibilities to bridging out to other networks and chains. Obviously, we've only just kind of broken the surface of what's possible in Polygon. We've had some awesome talks with some people associated or adjacent to Polygon network. So yeah, we're taking it kind of one step at a time, using Polygon as kind of our proof of concept for bridges and expansion. And this is an exciting time. We always kind of wanted to be multi-chain. We were like, maybe we'll do it later. And then we basically started talking with XP.NETWORK, and we were like, yeah, so this is something we really want to do, but like, man, it's got to be really difficult. How are we going to do that? And they're like, oh man, we got this. We got you. and it was literally like maybe a week from when we started, like when we decided, hey, yes, we're going to do this. We're going to bridge. Where are we going to bridge? And then it was like maybe a week or two tops before we had everything ready to go. We actually had everything ready to go on the technical side, well before we did the sale on OpenSea on Polygon, and so that was pretty awesome. It's really nice to be ahead of the game when it comes to any sort of technical development, and so that's why I said at the beginning, XP.NETWORK was so awesome in terms of what they're able to bring to the table in terms of a partnership. It's pretty unparalleled. So kudos to you guys.
Thanks for that. Could you tell us why you decided to start your project on Avalanche in the first place, and why Polygon was your first choice of bridging? Maybe do you have more chains on your mind where you want to go next?
We were looking at blockchains that had low cost for transactions, not only just for gas fees, but in terms of energy cost. When we started looking, we were looking at Polygon, we were looking at Avalanche, we were looking at Near, and several other ones. And even I think Immutable X was kind of even in the running, even though it was super, super new at that time. Ultimately, we decided to go with Avalanche because of their kind of attention to ecological detail. They spent time in their marketing. It was important for them. They were picking up projects that were also green focused. And so we thought that was going to be a really strong place for us to kind of start our journey. When we were looking to branch out, we were looking at, okay, so we're going to be fully operating within NFT spaces. So we started, doing some analysis on the market, and realized that there were some other chains that were performing much better in terms of NFT sales, and Polygon was one of those. And we are quite familiar with Polygon, as we were working with Polygon for the Dino X project. We also, kind of, kicked the tires and ran the numbers, and Polygon is very kind of similar in terms of energy cost and their ability to offset carbon inside of their networks. And they also started paying a bit more attention to that with some of their recent projects as well. And so we were like, okay, Polygon seems like a really legitimate choice for us. I mean, obviously, if you want the highest volume in NFT sales, you need to go to Ethereum. But essentially, we made the decision that we weren't going to bridge our NFT to really high energy cost blockchains. Although that is getting better, and so maybe in the future we will bridge to something like Ethereum. but you know, we wanted to kind of stay true to our roots and our mission, which is to plant an NFT that offsets carbon, not just for our ecosystem, but for others as well.
Great. So did you ever think about bridging to non-EVM chains?
So yeah, we talked about that with you guys a little bit as well. And we've been watching other projects like Immutable X with quite a lot of interest. So yeah, there's a couple extra steps to go through, but it's definitely possible, especially with XP Network. You know, you guys kind of have it figured out. So yeah, it's totally possible. We just you know, if somebody is looking for us to join their network, or if they think, you know, we should join a certain blockchain, you know, get on our social networks, come over, you know, make some noise, you know, invite some people from those blockchains to come and see what we're up to. Let's get the dialogue started. You know, that's really essentially how these things happen. You know, as developers, we can't do everything. You know, it really has to be, you know, at least equally driven by our communities. So, you know, we'll keep our ears open and we'll kind of see where our community is looking and what they want us to do with the project. As we get closer, you know, to the end of the year, we'll look at some you know, DAO systems where we can start, you know, allowing our holders to start making some impactful decisions on where we go with our network and with our ecosystem.
Great. And the good thing about the bridge is that you actually don't have to develop anything on the other side. For example, if you want to go to Near, let's say, or Metaversex or Algorand, you don't really have to develop. Everything is done by the bridge. That's the good part of it. You don't spend time and money on developing. You just bridge.
When you guys
That's
told
the
us
point.
that, I was like, what black magic is this?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. That's the point. It saves you everything. You know, you just do it for a pretty much
that for
minimal
us is
cost.
ultimately the goal is to get our game playable on in other environments. You know, breaking out of the silo that NFTs have kind of been stuck in has kind of been a long time promise, and it really hasn't been delivered on yet within the NFT gaming space. It's hard to get a game NFT from one game to another. And we have a number of partners already in place. We have more to come. We're also quite interested in that promise. You know, the idea of a digital collectible is you know, really kind of increased in utility and value when you can take that digital collectible and you can use it somewhere else. So, you know, our good friends at Horizon Land, we were talking with them recently. Our NFT, because it's 3D, because, you know, it's able to bridge so easily, it's EVM, you know, EVM compatible, everything like that. We're ready to basically set up our NFT inside of their metaverse, so you could run around as a Nunu Spirit as a metaverse avatar, you know, essentially. You know, so that is something that's hopefully coming soon. But it's also something that we really want to expand on in the future. You know, we want to be, you know, make sure that other games can come and bring their NFTs and participate in games inside of our ecosystem, and that we can go outside and we can play with them as well. I think it's going to be a pretty fun new world for gaming once we're able to kind of break down the barriers between, you know, free to play and Web3, you know, with these kind of hybrid models, with these new onboarding processes and stuff like that. So
great. Speaking about being ahead of the market, do you feel any competition in the market? Do you see that some projects take some part of your piece of the pie, or you just it's like a blue ocean for you? It's like
almost,
whatever you want, you get. How is it? How do you feel?
I mean, especially in the refi space and refi regen space, everyone is trying to help everybody else, especially in regen, which is awesome, because I think it can get a little competitive and a little, you know, my game is best and blah blah blah, and if I don't have my players in here, but you know, we're really not after, you know, the traditional crypto gamers per se. You know, the ones who are just looking for, you know, the earning potential, and if the earning potential isn't there, they evaporate and take their value with them, and then collapse the ecosystem. It's not something we're really interested in. We want we want to develop something that's sustainable long term. And so to do that, we have, you know, the creators on the NFT side, and then we have the consumers on the free to play side, and that builds the foundation for a very healthy and sustainable long term ecosystem. So yeah, I mean, our competitors, I would say we have more competitors in the free to play space than we probably do in the Web3 space. There's not a lot of games that are looking at ecological angles the way we do. We even pick up partners like Carbify, which is a really strong project, you know, in terms of refi space, but less so in the gaming sector. And nobody is really trying to build games like ours in this space. You know, the co-op focused games, the casual friendly games, the games that actually have, you know, players in the game playing the game without earning. You know, this is something that's novel, and, you know, more and more projects are going to have to step up and perform at this level. But right now we're happy to help them, you know, kind of rising tide, you know, rises all ships. In this case, it's very much, you know, we need to expand and grow as an industry, and we need to capitalize on bringing new people into the marketplace, because it's, you know, there's just not enough of us in crypto gaming right now to sustain even a fraction of the projects that are currently up and running. You know, it's a huge market though in gaming, and it's growing year on year. So there's lots of room for us, and I think that projects like ours that are looking at hybrid model, you know, we weren't the only ones that come up with a hybrid model idea. So it's hard to say, you know, this is our idea, you know, you're stealing it or anything like that. Yeah, everybody is kind of looking for a way to break into mass market. Yeah, I hope other projects do kind of take some of our recipe, and hopefully it works out for them. But hopefully they also, you know, pay it forward. You know, when they reach success, they kind of help others to grow as well. You know, so that's, yeah. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, you totally did, and I'm very happy to hear that you're driven by creativity and maybe an attempt to help other projects and even the nature itself, rather than competition, you know, money and all that stuff. So it's really, really good to hear that you are driven by something more positive than money.
Yeah. I mean, you can build games. You know, there are companies that build games off of those kind of motivations. But I think in the end, everybody kind of sees, you know, the forest for the trees, to use another loaded metaphor. But it's, you know, you're like, okay, so this is a cash grab, you know, and this happens in not just in crypto. This happens in free to play as well. You know, you see a game, you know, it comes out, you know, they work so hard to, you know, build a community, you know, they get lots of users in, and then there's something that shifts, or there's a switch, or, you know, something that happens, and all of a sudden, you know, the monetization schemes inside the game become less ethical, or, you know, more predatory, or, you know, just less fun. And you know, then, you know, the game really takes off and starts to make a lot of money, but it does it at the expense of the community that helped it get to that point. But I think that cycle and that recognition point is happening sooner and sooner. So people come in, they see a game, they're like, oh, this is great, the community is great. And, you know, and then if those, you know, conditions change and it becomes all about that money, you know, people are a bit more savvy. You know, consumers, you know, everybody likes to think consumers are stupid and they just, you know, play whatever's in front of them. But, you know, they really learn quickly, and it's important to stay true to who you are if you want to build a good game that's going to last for years. And so that's what we do.
Yeah, having all that said, how would you define the success of Nunu Spirits? I'm sure that you are a successful project, but what do you see?
I mean, I think we have a long way to go. I would say we're successful in the fact that we were able to, you know, launch the project. We were able to, you know, build a structure for a free-to-play Web3 hybrid model. We have, a bridge in place to kind of watch between the two. So, events can be recorded from the Web3 portal. So we can have events and tournaments on Web3 side. And then we can also generate items in the Web3 portal that are basically surrogates for in-game items. So we can have an in-game currency that's based on what's being produced in the Web3 side of things. And, that allows us to build economies that are product-based rather than just kind of these funny money economies that a lot of free-to-play games build. So you have gems currency, which is a very common thing in a free-to-play game, which is essentially you're trading hard currency or a fiat currency for some sort of token that's used inside of just that game. And it's completely on the developer, like the value of that item, that token. And it's quite easy for them to, sell, 100 tokens one day for $100, and then sell the same 100 tokens for $200 or $50 the next day, and completely change the price, or the power, the purchasing power of that item within the store. You just change the price of this in the store, and there's really nothing that a player inside of that game can do other than boycott or leave, at that point. So it becomes kind of this weird black box. How do we adjust the currency? What is the value of the in-game currency? And we can basically leverage, the economy inside of our Web3 portal to help control that. We can use DAO governance to say, okay, we're going to release X number of tokens over X amount of time. And that way we can better control and more transparently communicate the value of our in-game assets. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's one of the main reasons why we're doing what we're doing and why we're investigating in this space in the first place.
Great, great answer. Can you tell us about your nearest plans? Like, what's your roadmap for this year? Maybe you can shed a light on what's gonna happen in the next years. I'm sure everybody's interested, especially your community, and I'm sure our community as well.
Well, our community is pretty well aware of what's coming up in the roadmap. We're pretty open about our communication. In the very near term, we're looking at the merge event, which I mentioned earlier. The merge event kind of kicks off the last phase of our INO, which it's kind of a tricky time right now. We're still kind of discussing with NFT launch pads whether it's even possible to launch NFTs right now. Due to the market conditions. But we have strategies in place. It doesn't matter if we can't launch our NFTs, so be it. We'll launch them through the game, through gameplay, through in-app purchases and various other things like that. By the end of this year, we're going to try and get to at least like a beta version of multiplayer. This is one of the biggest items for feedback that we've got from early testers is like, yes, this is great. The world is beautiful. We love the characters, but I want to play with my Nunu and I want to play with somebody else, with their Nunu. And so we were going to start multiplayer at the end of this year, but we started much earlier. We have actually already, we've already started working on multiplayer, and our newest game, which is already in development, our newest mini game is already multiplayer enabled, or at least it has the kind of facility and the plugins for multiplayer experience. Obviously, multiplayer is a huge task. I'm not sure if we'll get there by the end of the year, but we'll do our best. We've kind of eschewed the kind of milestone-based roadmap in favor of more of a KPI-based roadmap. So, if we reach certain KPIs, we're able to basically kind of scale up and spin up a multiplayer server, spin up this, launch the DAO the DAO system if we reach certain number of wallet holders and stuff like that. So we're trying to figure out how best to communicate those KPIs with our community. So there'll be more information on that coming soon. But yeah, in terms of this roadmap, we want to get to multiplayer as soon as possible. And in the coming years, user-generated content is actually something that's really kind of important for the growth of our ecosystem. And the tool that we're actually building our games in currently is more of a sandbox editor, kind of sandbox tool. And we're building it in such a way that we're hoping that, you know, in the years to come, probably, you know, late 2024, we'll start looking at opening this mini game builder up to players, actually, so that they can actually build variations of mini games or levels inside of mini games, or even completely new mini games, you know, with kind of a more modular component-based drag and drop editor kind of system. And then once we have user-generated content, and things get really crazy, because then you have, you know, the Web3 side of things, where you can actually reward creators for the generation of assets that are consumed or used inside of games, and it gets really fun. So yeah, we're far from done, I would say, but yeah, come in, check out the game, play it a little bit, share it with your kids, or don't if you're worried.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot, and I'm seriously considering trying your game with my
Yeah.
son. But like you already said, it can get adjusted. That can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not too bad. It's not too bad, you
No.
know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure your game is kind and ecological,
Yeah,
so at least
yeah,
you won't learn bad stuff from your games, which is
exactly.
good. Yeah, which he
Exactly.
learns from other games. What do you think about the current NFT market, and what is the future of NFTs to your mind?
Well, I mentioned it's quite tricky right now. NFTs are kind of at a low point. They've seen, you know, a significant drop off in the last couple months in terms of volume. But from everyone that I talk to within the gaming space, it's either one of two things. One, yes, I want NFTs, or two, I'm afraid of NFTs because there's so many scams and stuff like that. And so I think that the name NFT is actually probably going to go away and be replaced by something else, like digital collectible or something like that. You know, something that's more indicative of what it is at its core, which essentially an NFT is a digital collectible. It's a non-fungible token, so it's, you know, it's something that can't be replicated or used in place of another NFT. Everything is unique. So in that way, it's very much like a numbered collectible. And if we sort of treat it that way, you know, there's a huge market for collectibles inside of gaming, and the fact that ambios or amiibos or what, those, you know, those are just, you know, they had a little bit of trouble, you know, with adoption because of the, you know, physical supply. Once the metaverse kind of really kicks off, you know, that the accessibility is there. So I think that we will have so many digital collectibles within our custodial wallets, within our non-custodial wallets, you know, within ecosystem wallets that we don't even know are digital collectibles. And I think they will be absolutely everywhere. It's unavoidable. You know, people want exclusivity, they want collective, they want community, and NFTs provide this in all of those cases. It's just, you know, we kind of have some negative press to overcome in terms of, you know, dealing with the nomenclature of NFT. What is an NFT? What is an NFT project? NFT gaming. You know, you saw Worms. You know, Team 17 launched Worms, or announced they were doing an NFT Worms project, and within, I think, 24 or 48 hours, they basically canceled the project due to the negative impact that it basically riled up in their community. And it was namely because at that time NFT games were considered like cash grabs from, you know, traditional gamers. But I think if they had approached it the other way and said, "Hey, now you have, you know, worms. You can trade these worms, you know, between yourselves in our marketplace. You can trade them externally, you know, in other people's marketplaces." I don't think anybody would have as much beef with that. It was just the wrong time, wrong place kind of thing. And NFTs kind of had this this FUD baggage that was coming with it. So yeah, NFTs will be everywhere. We just won't call them NFTs. That's my hot take.
Great. Well, I completely agree that NFTs are highly underestimated. And yes, you're quite right that they were used for swindling people into buying them,
Yep.
even though there was no utility behind them. But I'm sure those projects will slowly die off.
Yep.
And only the projects with real utilities, for example, yours, where you have a noble cause of actually purchasing an NFT, which actually pays for seeding a new tree and making our planet greener. And other
and
projects
games that
similar to
have
yours.
other ways to bring in revenue other than just selling more NFTs. You know, if your only way of bringing in new revenue is to basically sell more product, which devalues the products that are out there, that's a zero-sum game, my friend. And everybody
Yes,
kind of
that's right.
was calling it out, and you know, all of the really hardcore NFT supporters like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. And you're like, no, it is like that. And then in the end, it was like that. And everybody's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we also think that NFTs are a very good way of instant sealing ownership rights, which is verifiable, which is public. And it doesn't only have to be a collectible. Any ownership right can be sealed inside an NFT.
Yep.
And eventually, when there is proper legislation in place, people can actually buy and sell physical stuff like, I don't know, bikes, cars,
Yeah,
houses.
you have the
And
deed to your house. That's a
yes,
physical
yes,
document
and
that
everything
exists
can
somewhere
be an
in a
NFT.
ledger, you know? Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Anything can be an NFT eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to sell it to someone who is on another chain, then you can actually bridge it. And
Yeah,
that's why we build
that's
our
why
bridge.
XP.NETWORK is going to be king, man.
Exactly. So we are just in the beginning, and many technological advances started with the gaming industry. So we're very grateful to this industry for bringing so many so many good things to our life. For example, we have so highly developed computers, personal computers, thanks to games, because people were paying for computers to be able to play computer games at home, and this pumped a lot of money to the industry, and now we have better and better computers every year,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
So like if you're old enough to remember the computers like 20, 30 years ago, a computer could take an entire room, and it could do pretty much like a modern watch can do, right? And all that has changed so rapidly, and partially thanks to the gaming industry. So we are just at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Right.
It's a really exciting time, and I love the kind of the technological possibilities that come from these types of partnerships. Like you said, you know, gaming is a really great way to kind of introduce yourself and learn about, you know, something new. Obviously, from a psychological standpoint, you know, playing is the best way to learn something. And yeah, hopefully, you know, our game is one of those things that gets people down to the technical side, you know, what XP.NETWORK is doing, and you know, the kind of ability to go wherever you need to go is going to be super awesome.
Great. As we are approaching to 1 hour mark, could you tell us where we can find more information about your projects? Do you have any social links that you want to share
Yeah,
in
sure.
this chat?
The easiest one is nunuspirits.io, NU spirits.io. That's our website. It's got links to the downloads for the games for iOS and Android. It's got links to our portal, so you can register and sign up for our portal. You can purchase seedlings there. If you are backers, that's where you're claiming. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on in there. And of course, all of our social links are, you know, at the bottom, you know, or, you know, you can follow us on Twitter, obviously here. You know, you can just, I can maybe pop it in the space, one of our recent posts. Let me just grab one real quick. Yeah, so yeah, hop over to nunuspirits.io. Come say hi. Check out our, you know, our spaces. We're very active on Discord. And we've started doing our own spaces as well, which we've had some really great success with. So we have other partners come and speak with us there. We'll actually have XP Network join us for a space later on. We haven't got a date for that yet, but we'll definitely invite them to come join us and tell us more about their network rather than us always talking about Nunu Spirits. You know?
Okay, I want to thank you for coming. It was a real pleasure learning more about your wonderful ecological NFT projects.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to have more projects like yours, or maybe yours multiplied by many more games.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, we're getting there, you know, slowly but surely. You know, we'll have more games coming here by the end of the year. We'll have, like I said, hopefully getting into multiplayer. You know, lots of fun stuff coming.
Right, and I'd also love to see your project on multiple protocols, not only EVMs, to spread the word in different communities so that they know about you, about your noble cause, and just spread the word, you know.
We'll definitely be working on that in the behind the scenes. So as soon as we have more information, we'll be sure, you know, XP Network and we'll share that good news with you all.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dima. Thank you, everyone at XP Network, for everything that you do, for setting this up, for helping us bridge, and for bringing some awesome people in to check us out. Yeah, please do come check out our social. You know, we have lots of giveaways and stuff going on, so you can participate and have fun there.
All right, thanks for coming. Bye.
See you. Bye.